Warring tribes in Wabag agree to end fighting. Marape promises closer scrutiny of funds and outcomes. And 53rd Medical Symposium to get underway in September.
This is National EMTV News with Marape.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. Intensive negotiation by Enga Provincial Police Commander George Kakas and peace mediators on Monday has seen a breakthrough in peace talks between three warring tribal groups in Wabag. Fighting using high-powered weapons has been ongoing for almost 3 weeks, and many lives have been lost and properties destroyed.
So far, there are 20 unconfirmed reports of deaths from fighting between the key tribes of Terramanda, joining supporters of former Kandep MP Don Polier against the Kal tribe of Amala. On Monday, a peace mediation team led by Enga PPC George Kakas managed to mediate a ceasefire between the three groups. A leader from the Kandep side publicly told the mediation team that he started the commotion by burning down properties at Amala village, where the Provincial Administrator Dr. Samson Amien is from, because they were not happy with his behavior during the counting of the Kandep open seat. The Kandep leader alleged that Dr. Amien had influenced the setting aside of 7 disputed boxes containing votes from Polier's stronghold. The leader questioned why the 7 boxes were not counted, while the 7 regional boxes for these open boxes were counted. He said both boxes should have been set aside and demanded an explanation from the administrator. The key tribe of Terramanda village, just near Amala village and Wabag town, were also involved because they were housing Polier's supporters during the count. After much negotiation, the key tribe and the Kandep people finally decided to lay down their arms and let the issues be brought to court. The same assurance was also given by the Kal tribe, who were also eager to stop the fighting and resettle on their land, which was burnt to ground by the Key and Kandeps.
Something block Kandep come me innocent man destroy all something blow me. Me no radio wanted something. Me no sabe long this plus something. Over manase me no land blow me. Na me too me no sabe long em. Don't pole me no sabe long em. Me no got one blood related long this la something blow two blood.
Today, PPC Kakas assembled the warring groups and presented them preventive orders for a complete ceasefire. Security has been beefed up at the border of the Key and Kal tribe to ensure fighting comes to an end and normalcy returns. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Finance and Rural Development Minister James Marape will be screening all policy frameworks by the department so that people benefit from funds dispersed by government. Minister Marape said the ORD plays a pivotal role in the whole service delivery mechanism. He made these known while addressing staff of the department this morning in his first brief as minister responsible.
The minister responsible received a rousing welcome by the ORD staff in his first visit to the department. Minister Marape was accompanied by Finance Secretary Dr. Ken Nangen and other senior officers. In his address, Minister Marape said a key agenda forward for ORD is the overhaul of key policies, so the 111 districts are held accountable for the funds allocated.
I am here not to reinvent the wheel. I'm here to basically tap into potentials you have as a department and as an individual, and I'm here only to be the bridge between the national executive policy mindset
Mr. Marape also warned the staff to improve the image of PNG's public service.
It's about time we profit the PNG interest business, the PNG time business, and the PNG customs that continue to derail our country from going forward. And PNG customs include one-talk system, include boy chewing, include too many house cries, and the customary obligations that come with it. So no one else will step into this country to do the job we claim we must do. It is on us now.
The Office of Rural Development is now amalgamated with Finance Department, an effort put in place by the O'Neill-able government to scale the level of service against alleged mismanagement of public funds.
How can we best do our job, assist best do our job so that we deliver on our mandate? That is to report on the special funds and the public funds that go out to the communities. So are we achieving value for money?
ORD Acting Secretary Aivaki says the department will provide the technical support through policies but also needs urgent attention in its operations.
We have an operational budget development funding which is not been looked after well, where we don't have monitoring funds to be able to go out and monitor the programs. And I'm bringing this to your notice.
One of the key issues faced by ORD is housing for its staff. The minister responsible says in-house issues will be looked at with the available housing schemes established in the past term of government. Jack Lopave Jr., National, EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Minister Marape has dismissed reports of an increase in taxation in the country. He said the 100-day plan initiated by the Treasury and Finance departments also captures efforts to help decrease PNG's high taxation rates. He said recent reports of high taxation have no concrete basis.
Those who evade taxes, I think your time is running up now. We're putting in reform in place now where IPA registration, tax file number, and bank account go hand in hand. So if there is any look in as far as O'Neill government is concerned in tax, it's not on the ordinary Papua New Guinean man or woman individual, but it's really on the business aspect. Those who pay business, you use public utility like water, transport, you have to pay your fair share of tax.
A special audit conducted by the Departments of Prime Minister and Finance into the procurement and distribution systems of pharmaceutical drugs and other medical supplies has revealed loopholes affecting its delivery chain. One of the main causes was that suppliers could not procure and deliver medical supplies on credit terms, demanding for outstanding invoices to be settled beforehand. Chief Secretary Isaac Lupari says the outcome of this audit is to establish a cost-effective and transparent system so that medical supplies are procured at a reasonable cost and delivered on time.
Early this year, health facilities around the country faced a severe shortage of medical drugs. A special audit has already identified loopholes, and a report will be submitted to the Chief Secretary's office next month. Mr. Lupari says a senior officer from the Finance Department has been attached to the National Health Department to independently verify and vet claims for the procurement and distribution of pharmaceutical drugs and other medical supplies. This is to ensure that claims are properly verified, claims are vetted and paid in a timely manner, unreasonable advance payments to suppliers are controlled, and there are no duplicate payments on the same invoices. Performing these responsibilities will ensure suppliers and distributors are paid accordingly to continuously perform their contractual obligation. Lupari says the government is putting in place an effective and efficient system to make primary healthcare achievable. Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Defence Force held a parade today to welcome the new Minister for Defence, Solon Merisim, and farewell outgoing Minister Fabian Pok. This will be the first ministerial portfolio for the re-elected member for Telefomin. Merisim takes over from Fabian Pok, who has been given the petroleum and energy portfolio.
Outgoing Minister for Defence and Member for North Wagi, Fabian Pok, and Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo inspected the parade that was made up of a mixed guard of land, air and sea elements. There to witness the handover takeover parade was defence attachees from Australia, New Zealand and Indonesia. Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo thanked the outgoing minister for his legislative contributions to the PNGDF and other vital programs for soldiers. Toropo also highlighted funding issues the force is facing.
It's critical nature of funding. As we continue to face each month, it is very challenging to have strict programs in place when there's uncertainty of funding availability month by month. One of our key tasks and aspects of effective presence along the border is the lack of infrastructure. And I am sure over time we hope that we could continue to improve and develop our border areas.
Outgoing Minister Fabian Pork said that he has more respect for the institution after being minister for 5 years.
This is a unique organization with its organizational structure, if not well managed, can be challenging to achieve its core tasks. I therefore urge the department to be responsive and support the Papua New Guinea Defence Force. You need to understand that Defence Force core tasks and ensure that it is delivered without compromise.
The new Defence Minister and member for Teleformin, Solon Mirisim, said he would continue where his predecessor left off.
I will continue these initiatives where you left. The superannuation and service conditions, the housing projects, the commercial support program, the joint services college.
He also went on to assure the force that funding should not hinder functions of the PNGDF.
The funding challenges are inevitable given the present unfavorable conditions facing our economy. But this will improve over the next 5 years. Let me not be discouraged by this situation, but let us be smart and wise in the way we use our limited resources.
Adelaide Xerox Curry National, EMTV News.
Police have made another attempt to evict the Heraha family residing at Geruhu in Port Moresby. However, intervention by Geruhu Police Station Commander Inspector Robert Curry has seen the policemen withdrawing from the area. The Heraha family has again called on Police Commissioner Gary Baki and Housing Minister John Kaupa to explain why these officers are colluding to remove the occupants on the property.
The Heraha family were almost evicted for the third time around midday today. The same policemen alleged to be involved in the past two attempts of eviction showed up with an ex parte court document for the family to evacuate the property.
Me play no come in nothing. Station Commander Logerehu tokos me no holy one pla directive copy from the Metsup, so you pla can go inside and stop. So me pla brook him lock na me pla come inside na me pla stop.
On the 11th of August, Housing Minister John Kaupa made a bold statement and a directive to stop all evictions on NHC properties.
And unnecessary eviction for interest of other people must be stopped. And I've seen it from outside, so now as a minister responsible, I give directions so that there should be no more eviction.
However, it was on the same day the Heraha family were evicted from their home and locked outside the property as the home was demolished by a third party claiming to be the new landlord. The Herahas have occupied the property since 1975 and applied for a land title after reaching 35 years. They alleged NHC officers have sold the property without the consent.
My letter is already finished up at NHC. All overlook me. This la rights me lo give him a title. All overlook me no give him lo third party. So now the third party am like take revenge na like rousing me.
Another family in Port Moresby's Tokarara is also fighting a court battle after they were evicted in May this year after living for over 30 years on the property.
Housing Commission almost honest. Mosa kisi money lo side na also working this la pasin. Ose na tok blomi lo Housing Minister ose emas straighten this la problem blomi plan lo house.
The family is now living on a makeshift while attending court proceedings. Helen Ragana told MTV News they were also offered some money by the new landlord.
Now all carry money too. 50,000 all carry money come no give me but mipla talk mipla no salim house blow mipla. Mama's play yes mipla stop. Now all force mipla policeman all force mipla lo mipla go down lo waiga the police station all by give mipla 50,000. But mipla less lo money. Mipla like him house blow mipla.
Reports of both evictions have reached Housing Minister John Cowper, but is yet to make a response. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
Still to come on National MTV News, a preview of this year's Medical Symposium, the Wabag Queen Inquiry, and PNG Air acknowledges the recognition accorded by CNN. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. An important event for the medical fraternity around the country will be held next month in Port Moresby. This year's 53rd Medical Symposium theme is Access to Safe Surgeries and Safe Anesthesia. The Medical Society of Papua New Guinea says they hope to develop a surgery policy to be incorporated into the National Health Plan 2020.
This year's Medical Symposium will address the practice of safe surgeries and anesthetic care. The Medical Society of Papua New Guinea hope to receive positive outcomes from this with a policy that can be adopted by all hospitals in urban and rural settings to ensure all patients can have a safe surgical experience. The policy will also include support services, which are radiology, biochemistry, accidents and emergencies, and public health.
And the theme, as you've had, is safe, affordable access to safe surgery and safe anesthesia when needed. And since it's, the resolutions of the WHO 6815, we would like to be on a bandwagon to at least see that benefits our people. And we know our constraints of our socio-geographic terrains of our country. When our people are out there, how do we, if we can get this policy to the government, into the National Health Plan, have the accessibility of our people to get to health facilities early to have the surgery done before there are complications that happen. I think the second indicator of these 6 indicators of Lancet Commission of the global surgery is about having the capacity in terms of workforce, capacity in terms of equipment, and all other support services.
The event will be hosted at the Stanley Hotel next month from the 3rd to the 8th and will be attended by local and international doctors, health and medical researchers, and health workers. 8 international speakers are expected to attend, with one coming all the way from Boston, USA. This year's event is made possible through the support of the Public-Private Partnership. The annual medical event is an occasion for professionals and the medical fraternity to present research papers to improve the country's health and medical sector by formulating policies and treatment for diseases. Merlin Diaukatam, National MTV News.
The ill-fated MV Wabag Queen owner, Captain Peter Sharp, and the ship's captain, Anthony Tsiao, have been acquitted of manslaughter charges earlier this month by a national court in Kokopo. Sharp and Tsiao are the 2 defendants and have been charged with alleged negligence, resulting in the death of 140 named people in the 2012 Wabag Queen ferry disaster. Their lawyers submitted to the trial that the state has failed to provide adequate evidence for the duo to answer to.
The Wabag Queen trial has found Captain Peter Sharp and Anthony Tsiao not guilty of manslaughter charges. Earlier this month, Sharp and Tsiao's lawyers submitted a no-case submission to the trial, presided by Justice Terence Higgins in Kokopo. The submission by the defendants' lawyers stated that the state has failed to prove the 2 defendants guilty of these charges. Sharp and Tsiao have previously had 140 counts of manslaughter charges laid against them. But Justice Terence Higgins handed down a verdict, and I quote, "Bearing in mind the tenuous causal connection between the negligence of Captain Tsiao and any death that occurred, it seems to me that a verdict of not guilty of causing death by gross negligence is mandated." End of quote. Although the trial found that the Wabag Queen vessel exceeded its passenger limit as authorized by the ship's survey certificate, the evidences presented in court against the 2 defendants was found to be irrelevant to their manslaughter charges. The Rabaul trial has now dragged into its 5th year. The state has so far presented a total of 130 witnesses who testified in the Rabaul trial since April last year. The state has also tendered in court a total of 150 court exhibits relating to the sinking of the MV Rabaul vessel. But despite the relentless attempt made by the state to prosecute Sharp and Chiao, the trial, however, found all the evidences as inadequate and insufficient. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Meanwhile, both Captain Sharp and Chiao still face charges of sending an unworthy ship to sea. The Kokopo National Court also ordered that Rabaul Shipping Kimbe branch manageress Grace Amen and Rabaul Queen's chief mate Michael Zirao to reappear in the trial. All 4 defendants will stand before Rabaul Queen trial to respond to the charges of sending an unseaworthy ship to sea. The Medang Provincial Administrator says the swearing-in ceremony yesterday was just a tradition. Daniel Aloy wants to make it clear to the people of Medang that Governor Peter Yama was the only member present, as the other 6 are in Port Moresby for the National Parliament Induction Week program. Aloy says the swearing-in ceremony in Medang coincided with the orientation week for the national parliamentarians.
Medang Provincial Administrator Daniel Aloy says there was nothing improper about the swearing-in of the Medang governor in the absence of the other 6 open MPs. Aloy said it was not an assembly meeting but a swearing-in ceremony. He says most people may say this was done faster than expected. However, the provincial seat was not given enough time as the counting took another 3 days to complete.
You calculate count down the days that we had lost. We couldn't go by 14th. We couldn't go by the Wednesday, the 14th day. After the swearing in, after the return of writs, they had to be, sworn in. So consequently, we had to have the assembly to be put in place to have the governor sworn in first as the chairman of the assembly. And then later on he can, and there is arrangement to have the other members of the National Parliament taken on board and sworn into the assembly as well.
Aloy said another question people will ask was whether it was necessary to have all the province's elected members sworn into the provincial seat at the same time. He explains there are 2 laws which govern the different levels of government, and that the national government is governed by the Constitution. The organic law paves way for the national government to have a sub-level national government that would have an assembly. Therefore, in order to make you a member of that assembly, you need to go through that ceremony to be inducted.
And the organic law is very specific on the constitution of the assembly. And consequently, it has asked for the swearing in to be done. You see, unlike the past organic law, in the past organic law you had the members of the parliament, members of the provincial assembly being elected separately. Since the organic law was reviewed, it happened that you don't have any more second elections for the members of the provincial assembly. They occupy the provincial assembly by virtue of being members of national parliament and being members of local level governments.
Aloy says as long as there was a majority in the assembly to witness the ceremony, as well as evidence of written of writs and gazettes made available, the governor was sworn in. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Medang.
PNG Air has thanked CNN Travel for recognizing the airline company as one of the 12 best aircraft liveries in the world. Chief Commercial Officer Paul Abbott says while this is good news for Papua New Guinea, the airline company will continue to deliver top-level airline service and meet public demand.
PNG Air made the cut, named one of the 12 airlines as having the best aircraft liveries in the world. It's no surprise for the airline company after its rebranding in November 2015 with its new ATR aircraft, 70-600 in operation. One of the attractions is the design on the aircraft's tail, which reflects Papua New Guinea's diversified cultures. According to CNN Travel, This contemporary depiction of ancient patterns was rendered in just 3 colors. There was something extra special that came out from the design, and the fact that it used limited colors on the artwork makes the traditional designs stand out and raises curiosity too.
Yeah, no, it was really nice. We didn't actually know we'd been entered into it, or we'd been selected as part of that CNN program, and then we got a call to say you'd made the top 12, which was really good for us. And
PNG Air says this great news putting the country on the international stage. Mr. Abbott says PNG Air will continue to fulfill its goals to deliver first-class aviation services to the country, which is value for money and returns for the shareholders as well.
On an annual basis, so that they do a one-off aircraft livery just to enter into the competition. But for us, it was a total surprise, and we're just lucky that people were taking notice. And I guess it's one of the neat things is the world's getting smaller, and the internet's obviously connecting a lot more people, and they've seen us on they've seen us on the web, and they've liked what they've seen, and their judges liked what they saw, which was really nice.
PNG Air thanked all shareholders, stakeholders and the people of Papua New Guinea for continuing to fly with the airline.
Really happy and grateful we have the support from NASFund and the MRDC group of companies in particular who have chosen to invest in the airline, and they choose to invest because they understand too the reality that the country of 10 million people deserves 2 airlines and needs 2 world-class airlines to service it. So their support's been invaluable in terms of getting us off the ground and helping us to invest in the additional infrastructure that we need. And
Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News.
Public Service Minister for the Autonomous Bougainville Government, Robert Hamal-Sawa, has denied allegations made by the North Bougainville ex-combatants in relation to the recruitment process within the Bougainville administration. As Minister responsible for personnel management and administrative services, Sawa says appointments are made based on merit and aligned with the Bougainville Public Service Act 2014. He maintained transparency is a critical component of good governance. Minister Sawa released a statement today after a petition from the North Bougainville ex-combatants expressed their dissatisfaction and grievances to the Bougainville administration under the leadership of Chief Secretary to the ABG, Joseph Nobetau. They demanded answers to the alleged regionalism and nepotism practice within the Bougainville administration. And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307 $0.3888 Australian dollars, $0.258 euro, and 33.61 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copper closed higher, coffee and cocoa closed the day lower. Palm oil and crude oil closed higher, while copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 5 points higher, the ASX closed 19 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 18 points higher. Still ahead in the news, floods in Leh, deadly mudslides in Africa, and sailing to North Pole. Those stories when we come back. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The Gabensis village in Marape's Huon Gulf district continues to be affected by heavy rains within Marape province. 3 weeks ago, their homes were destroyed by a nearby river. They are now appealing to authorities and companies that use the Wabag highway to assist them. The next course of action will be to close off the highway through the village if help is not received.
The Gabensis village is still threatened by the continuous rains. This morning the river rose, eroding more of the banks. Villages affected now live in tents along the river. Food and clean water scarce. It's been 3 weeks since the Gorgias River swept through this village, destroying homes and gardens. They've received rations from the Provincial Disaster Office and church groups. The Gabensis village is only one of the areas that is being affected by the continuous rains here in the Marape province. Villagers have been losing sleep watching the river levels as it continues to rain. Their appeal now to the authorities and the major companies that use the Wabag highway is to assist in diverting the river back to its original course.
district now only work long but through lo display me play work lo looking mo say me take him long time.
Letters have been written to the authorities and companies inviting them for a meeting this Saturday. Locals have built up frustrations over the delayed responses from authorities.
Suppose all authorities respond one time. Display all major company only walk long, run long display area me play stop long display highway. Big play ting long me play by making one plus strike way, but me play passing car.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lake.
Turning overseas now, Sierra Leone's president says his country needs urgent support after thousands of people were affected by a mudslide that wiped out entire communities. The death toll has now risen to nearly 400 people.
On the day after, emergency services are still overstretched. Inside the central mortuary at the main Connaught Hospital, there are piles of bodies. They are lying on the floor in the open because there is no more space. Nearly 100 bodies were brought in on Tuesday morning, bringing the total number to nearly 400, some of them limbless.
The head of the mortuary says they are completely overstretched, and that is not all. As they were cleaning up the place, trying to sort the corpses out, more corpses are being brought in from different parts of the city.
Even the rescue effort here is challenged. People are believed to still be alive underneath this spot. Even if they are, it will be a miracle to find them breathing. The government and development partners have now set up a response center, registering those left behind by the disaster. Relief supplies are, however, slow in coming. But the testimonies from people who've been badly hit by this disaster are in no short supply.
I first saw the body of my sister and called on people to help me, and we laid her on the floor. Then I started hearing other people nearby crying. I've lost all of my family.
Monday's mudslide and flash floods have shaken this country. Even for a country that has known a bloody civil war and a destabilizing Ebola outbreak, this is unbearable.
It seems it's back to square one for Donald Trump. Just a day after condemning white supremacists for the violence in Virginia, the president has blamed both sides for the events that unfolded on the weekend.
President Trump today defiant and doubling down, defending his decision to wait 48 hours after the hate-fueled violence in Charlottesville to call out the white supremacists by name.
Why did you wait so long last week?
I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I didn't wait long. I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct, not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement, but you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact.
With the backlash growing, the president did not address the fact that the First Lady, his daughter Ivanka Trump, and the Vice President all condemned the racism before he did. 3 days after white supremacists marched in the streets, the president is now back to square one, again blaming all sides.
What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt? What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that.
And what about that initial group that took to the streets on Friday night? The president defended some of them, too.
But not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists.
And are you putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane?
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is. Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides.
The president standing firm by his response and his leadership.
A team of British explorers are setting sail for the North Pole in 2 50-foot yachts in a world-first attempt. But the journey has only been made possible by melting sea ice.
Setting off into uncharted Arctic waters, a pair of yachts attempting a first, sailing all the way to the North Pole. A crew of 10 and Dog Fukimi have just departed from Alaska. Led by British explorer Pen Haddo, they have a 3,500-mile voyage ahead.
For the first time in human history, possibly for the first time in 130,000 years, it is now possible to sail ships into this sea area.
It's rapid warming that's made this expedition even possible. This shows how sea ice has melted over time. The smaller the circle, the less ice that year. There's still data to come for 2017, but already it doesn't look good. Since the 1970s, it's estimated that half of the volume of sea ice has been lost. It means that once inaccessible waters are opening up, and researchers say this could lead to significant changes, especially for commercial shipping routes.
North Pole is here, and what we're seeing in this map...
At Reading University, scientists say that instead of having to sail around the frozen pole, ships will have a new shortcut.
At the moment, we're seeing a few experimental voyages through the Arctic. And in future, as the ice continues to melt, the possibility of having more commercial ships travelling through the region will only increase. And ice-strengthened ships may well be able to go right over the pole by the middle of the century.
The team do not know how far north they'll get, but this expedition into the unknown may be the start of a new era of Arctic voyages.
Here with National EMTV News, Trukai Sports is next. While debate rages on about NRL star James Seguiaro, Kumuls coach Michael Marum feels he can contribute to PNG in the World Cup. Details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG Kumuls coach Michael Marum says James Seguiaro and Alex Johnston are likely to play for PNG. He says with both players playing at a much higher level of competition, PNG could use their experience.
PNG Kumuls coach Michael Marum says they are both NRL experienced and eligible for a selection. Their inclusion might boost the Kumuls' performance.
England will come up with all the Super League players, and Wales, Ireland, USA will have probably 14, 15 NRL boys in there. So, whatever player that's fit, we want the best for the country. If they're eligible, they get selected.
The PNG Kumuls preparations are on track and will see them play only one trial match before the World Cup. Right now, Marum is focused on finishing off the season with the SP PNG Hunters.
With our preparations, with the team, with the coaching staff, been working around the clock, just making sure all the small things are sorted out. For the Kumuls of PM13 tri-series in Fiji, we're counting down the days, but right now, just our main focus is on finishing off the season.
The Prime Minister's 13 next month will not be used as a trial match leading up to the World Cup. With the Queensland Interest Super Cup finals approaching, many of the players in the Hunters team might not be selected into the PM's 13 squad.
Pushing for those players in the around the competitions in the NRL, also the other teams in the ISC competitions. If they've completed their season, they can come up and play in the PM13, probably better. So, depending on their duties, their contracts with the clubs, and there's a lot of things we need to sort out with their managers.
Marum is expected to name the PNG Kumuls team by the 4th or 5th of October before they head into camp on the 6th.
And then after 2 days we leave to Fiji and start the preparations there.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
SP Hunters coach Michael Marum has retained the side that beat Townsville Blackhawks for Sunday's Round 24 Interest Super Cup clash here at the National Football Stadium this Sunday. Fullback Stargoth Amian, who left the field in the first half after a head knock while contesting a high ball, is the only injury concern. He will be monitored until Friday before Marum decides on the final 17. Brandy Peter and Alex Vera have been added to the 20-man extended bench.
The last game they played was round 21, round 22. Round 21 they beat East Tigers 22 points to 6. So East Tigers a big team, and we've seen that game. We did a video on it last night together with the players. So tough game. They got big forwards, they got experience. Could have David Mead in the side if not playing with the Broncos, or if he's ruled out for the weekend's game. But you know, whatever play they come up with, they'll have a strong side coming up on Saturday, face us Sunday. So yeah, big game for us, last home game. You know, a lot of fans will come and support us back here at home. And we come back here for another game during the finals. But you know, our focus is on Wynnum. We haven't played them this year, so we don't expect. We can't write them off there on number 9 spot. So yeah, big game for us. We need to win it there.
Two Aussie rules and the PNG Mosquitoes faced off against South Africa yesterday at Royal Park and were unstoppable from the first whistle. Coming into the game after 2 days of proper rest and hard training, the Mosquitoes were ready to give their best. The Mosquitoes scored first, led for most of the game and held the whole of the game, annihilating South Africa with a final scoreline of 113 to South Africa 4. As they take a break and prepare for the grand final match and title defence this Saturday against New Zealand, PNG is hoping to be the first country to win back-to-back international cup titles. Meanwhile, the PNG Flames are now to compete for 5th place against their Pacific sisters Fiji, who sent Pakistan home empty-handed after a 150-point drubbing. And Trukai Sports continues after these messages. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports, to an update on the PNG Games. With less than 3 months to go before the Games get underway in West New Britain Province, work has also commenced this week to make sure all venues are Games ready. PNG Games Logistics Coordinator Thomas Kahai said the host organising community is now working tirelessly to ensure delivery.
At the moment, I think the most of the tasks now are in the hands of the HOC organizing committee, which they look more on the logistics of the venues, and we will just making sure that the venues are ready in time for the games, which is in November. At this stage, we are working closely with the advice from the HOC organizing committee, which have got the venue people on the ground that's working tirelessly now in trying to get the venues upgraded again to meet the standards. And this is where our operations on the ground will be working closely in cross-checking that the venues meet the requirements of our sport-specific before the games.
To surfing, an Australian surfer, Julian Wilson, won a dramatic final in the Tahiti leg of the World Surf League Championship Tour. Wilson took on Brazilian Gabriel Medina in the men's final after the Brazilian rival got an early lead with an impressive scorecard.
Joan Wilson was left with a big score to catch up on after Gabriel Medina took a big lead with a highly impressive combined score of 17.87 out of 20. The Australian had to strike back with big scores of his own, catching some perfect breaks and smooth barrel rides, ending with slick cutback maneuvers for a win in the last minute of the final. The win in Tahiti saw Wilson move up the ranks from 8th to 5th place on the overall league table.
It's been such a special few days, just smashing out the contest day after day, and I think we finished in the best conditions, so thanks to KP for getting us out there in the best conditions possible, and kind of finishing with the cherry that we had out there. I think that was the best conditions of the 3 days that we had in the final, so we got to duke it out and we had a good battle, and just so happy.
Wilson also beat Jody Smith in the semi-final earlier in the day. The South African was the top contender in the overall leaderboard. Meanwhile, other title contenders, including US surfer John Florence and Australian Owen Wright and Matt Wilkinson, were eliminated earlier in the day but remain high in the overall league table. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. When we come back, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma and Alota. Fine, becoming cloudy. Cloudy weather with some showers expected in Popondetta. To the Mamasa region, cloudy weather with some showers and rain expected for Ley, Wau and Wabag. Thundery showers for Vanimo, fine becoming cloudy for Madang. To the New Guinea Islands region, becoming cloudy for Lorengau and Kavieng, as well as for Buka. Thundery rain expected in Kimbe, Kokopo and Rabau. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabag, all these major centers can expect cloudy weather with showers over the next 24 hours.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Wednesday, the 16th of August 2017. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.